G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. Bonaparte's Retreat, it's such a great melody. In this guitar lesson, we're going to take a look at an arrangement that focuses on cross-picking and the triplet. So we'll really focus in on those two techniques in this lesson. Now in a moment, we're going to take a look at part A, but if you head over to pickinglessons.com, you better get yourself the tab that we're working from. The tab has all the finger marks for your left hand and all the picking marks for your right hand. You'll also find the next two video lessons where we take a look at part B and part C of the tune, so we have 3 parts. And you'll also find some backing tracks and play along tracks there that you can download, so pickinglessons.com. Okay, so let's start out with a slow play through part A, and then we'll break it down and have a look at some of the techniques. So there's a bit of cross picking in part A, we have a triplet, and there's some other hammer-ons and pull-offs that we'll have a look at as well. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's part A. So firstly, we're in the key of D, and we've got our guitar tuned to drop D tuning. So D, A, D, G, B, and E. So there's our drop D tuning. Now we don't need it for part A, we need it for later on in the tune, but what it will do for us in part A is that low D string will start to sort of resonate as we're picking, so it kind of supports everything as we go. So be careful not to block that string as you pick. You really do want it to sound out. So as you're playing, keep that right hand away from the low strings and just let them resonate naturally in the background. Now, the hand position that we're going to be using in your left hand there, we're basically playing out of position 2, first finger 2nd fret, second finger 3rd, third finger 4th, pretty much stick to that and you'll be fine. The right hand following the rhythm as we usually do, down on the quarter notes, down and up on the 8th notes. As we play through our cross picking, we're going to follow that as well. So first of all, those 2 pickup notes, leading us into measure 1 when we have our first cross picking task. Over to measure 2. So what we're doing here is essentially holding part of the D chord with those fingers I mentioned, and then the right hand's going to be following through these strings here, these strings 2, 3, and 4. We have 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and right hand, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, following through, kind of just rolling like a backward roll if you compared it to the banjo roll. So it's a backward roll essentially. And if we move on through to measure 2, we have and we turn around there on beat on the 3rd beat, halfway through the 3rd beat, changing direction. So we have essentially 3 backward rolls in a row with a quarter note pause in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Really important to incorporate that right hand picking like I mentioned. So down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down. It's all marked in the tab, keep an eye on it. There are some other ways to go about cross picking. You could sort of play down, then up, up, down, up, up. I always find sticking to an alternating picking just works for me. Feel free to experiment. We're not going to look at those other variations here. We're just going to focus on the kind of standard down, up approach. But there are certainly other ways. So coming through to the end of measure 2, we get this little hammer onto the B note there with your 3rd finger. We're going to maintain this D chord shape pretty much all the way through this part A. So maintaining that chord shape and get that hammer on there to the 3rd finger. And your pick stroke there was up, down, to the hammer-on. And then as we move through into measure 3, this is where we have our first triplet. So a triplet, remember, 3 notes in the space of 2, and in this case they're 8th note. So 3 and a. 1, 2, 3 and a 4. 1, 2, 3 and a 4. Again, we're maintaining this chord shape. The 1st and the 2nd fingers there in our D position. That 3rd finger comes in for an extension of the D chord. And our right hand happens to just play all downstrokes. Triplet is a hammer-on pull-off. So as we play that hammer on there and then pull off to get that triplet sound. So the third finger is doing all the work. So strong hand position to maintain that chord while that third finger comes in and pulls off. 1, 2, 3, and a 4. So if you're having a little bit of trouble with the hammer on pull off, you can focus on that separately. Remember, firm for the hammer on, and then flick with the third finger to get the pull off sound. And then when you hold the double stop in there, the 2 notes, and trying to hear those notes nice and clear. Okay, practice that up, but moving on to measure 4. That's a nice easy one. And now moving into measure 5, we have a little bit of a repeat. Into measure 6 is the same as the beginning again. Into measure 7 and measure 8, we have a variation. And we're about to move into part B. So measure 7, again, maintaining that chord form, although our first finger we're going to take off, leave finger 2 there, and we're going to move our first finger to the string 1 now for that hammer on. Counting for this one, 1 and 2 and. So we're going to hold that second fret there once we hammer on. 1 and 2 and, upstroke on that third fret. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. There's that little pull off, making sure that second finger's nice and clean, not leaning over onto string 1. So really strong hand position. I'd suggest you'd probably need to have your thumb lower too if you haven't picked up on that, because if you're having a little trouble with that, you might find with the thumb up, you'll drag that second finger down. So thumb down, fingertip for that second finger so you can hear the open string nice and clean. So measure 7, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, back into our D chord position, hammer on. And so that, again, that double stop position out of the D, hammer onto your third finger, back to the double stop, down, down, up, down, down, hammer on. Nice and strong in your hand there. Notice, hopefully the microphone's picking that up, but there's some resonance there from the other strings. Those lower strings are ringing out. So I'll start some nice dead strings and we'll hear this passage and listen to the notes as they ring on through. Notice that I've taken my hands off. There's no open strings, but sympathetic ringing that you get from those other notes. It's kind of there building around what we're hearing. So there's part A. Now, take your time with it, slow it down, work on that hand position. Just remember where we're sitting out of the D chord, and then be strong with the hammer-ons and the pull-offs. Watch that triplet when we come in, and then the cross-picking. Cross-picking, just keep working on getting that nice and smooth. All right, so if you head on over to pickinglessons.com, you will get to this tab that we're working from, but you'll also find the next 2 parts of this lesson where we have a look at part B and have a look at part C as well. So pickinglessons.com, I'll see you there.